question of all questions: why good people suffer, bad people prosper. This week we're going to be reading an extra section in the Torah called Parshas Parah. Parshas Parah tells us how to prepare a red heifer so that its ashes then can be mixed with living water. That's water from a spring, and then sprinkled onto a person who came in contact with a dead body and became impurified. Why is this read this week? Because the next week we're going to be reading about the law of the Karban Pesach, bringing the Paschal lamb, and in order to be able to bring it or eat it or partake of it, we need to be pure from any contamination, especially that of being in proximity to a dead body. And this is how we become purified. So we read it this week. But the funny thing is that the reading of, say, all the other readings in the Torah, including about the Paschal lamb, are rabbinic in nature. This week, this reading is considered by many as biblical. Why would that be the case? Now, when the Torah speaks about the law of the red heifer, it says, Zois chukas haTorah. This is the statute of the entire Torah. It's considered the quintessential law without reason. Now, the question is why? There are many other laws that have no reason, mixing milk and meat, mixing wool and linen. Yet this law is considered the quintessential one when actually there are some hints to what the purpose is. See, death was brought into the world through the golden calf. At least it made it permanent. Once again, the idea of death. And the red heifer is kind of a counterbalance to the golden calf. That's why it's red, represents sin. It had to be fully red, it had to be complete, representing the fact that by eating from the golden calf, we lost our innocence, we lost our completion. It could never have had a yoke on it, which represents the fact that we threw off our yoke when we when we participated in the golden calf. So there are lots of ideas that we can gain from this idea, from the red heifer. Why is it called the quintessential law without reason? And the answer is that there's a particular detail in this law, and that's what's the most perplexing part of it. That is that as the red heifer purifies the impure, it also impurifies the pure. The Kohen who sprinkles the ashes of the red heifer, he becomes impure whilst purifying the next guy. Why would that be the same case? If he is purifying someone, why should he become impure? Now, it's not the same level of impurity. It's much easier to get purified from that impurity. But nevertheless, he becomes impure. So the question is why? And that's what we're saying, is that has no reason. And to understand this on a deeper level, it's this. The idea that someone pure becomes impure means someone who is pure, in other words, righteous, a positive, good person, becoming impure, dying, or something terrible happening to them. That is the question of bad things happening to good people. And that's where we're told this is beyond our logic and understanding. You cannot ask why that happens, because we can't give you an answer. It's beyond our ability to understand. And you know what? It's by design that it's beyond our ability to understand. Because if we do understand why bad things happen, we're accepting of it. And the worst thing of being accepting of it is then you're not going to go out of your way to help the person who's suffering. If you think there's a good reason why that person is suffering, okay, it's a good reason, so you don't feel bad, so much at least. Oh, poor guy suffering, but it's a good reason for it, because X, Y, Z. Then, someone asked Elie Wiesel once, explain why did the Holocaust happen. He said, if I explained to you and I gave you a reason why, what would it do for you? It will help you sleep better at night. I mean, if you understand the reason, then what's it going to do for you? It's just going to make you more comfortable with it. God does not want us to be comfortable with death, with suffering of good people. He doesn't. He wants us to be indignant about it. He wants us to cry out to him that it should stop. And he wants us to be there for those who are suffering. And that's why this law is a law without reason, that the pure person becomes impure. That makes no sense. And it should remain that way. But we can learn a very important lesson from the fact that the pure person has to become impure in order for the impure person to become pure. And that is the following. How do we reach impure people? In other words, people who are damaged, hurt, fallen. How do you get to them? So some people might think, oh, the way to get to them is you show them the truth, show them the light. But you know what? It doesn't relate to them. Yeah, you're perfection. You're a perfect person, so it doesn't affect you. But how you're not going to be able to reach them if they think they're imperfect and you're perfect. So the only way to reach them is to get down into their level, to purify yourself somewhat. Rav Nachman of Breslov gives a great analogy to this. He says there was once a prince, and he decided one day that he's a turkey. So he took off all his clothes and he went under the table and started eating the food that fell under the table. That's what he used to eat. And they brought psychologists, they brought people to talk to him. Nothing. He's a turkey. That's it. So one day, a relative came along and told the king, you know what, I got a way of helping the situation. He takes off his clothes. He goes under the table. And the kid then asks him, who are you? What are you doing here? He says, I'm also a turkey. Really? Yeah, I'm a turkey too. And he started eating the seeds just like he was and so on. After a while, after a few weeks, he says, you know, I heard that there are turkeys in India that wear clothes. So I'm going to put on clothes. Okay? So he put on clothes. He put on clothes. Then he tells them, oh, I hear the turkeys in Tajikistan who eat at the table as normal people. So he went to Nathan at the table, and so on and so forth, until he brought him back. What is the message? The message is very simple. In order for him to reach this prince, he had to get down and dirty at his level. That's the only way he could have gotten him out of his situation. The Mittler Rebbe, the second Chabad Rebbe, once was seeing lots of people and private audience. And then he stopped all of a sudden. There were people waiting for him, and he says he can't do it anymore. And he was asked why. And he said, because every person that comes into me and tells me about something in their life, I have to find within myself something subtle compared to the negativity, to the sin, or to that person has gone through. Someone came in and told me something so horrific, so terrible, I cannot imagine. I looked within myself to find something subtle like that, and I couldn't find it. So if I can't find it, that means to say that evil is still within me. I cannot be seeing people helping them if I don't get schlep myself out of that. So what does that mean? Again, the same idea, that the only way to reach someone is to, so to speak, be able to become purified yourself somewhat. Then you're able to schlep them out. And we have to have a empathy and a feeling towards those who are maybe failing or going through difficult times or experiences, whether it be practically, psychologically, or whichever way it might be, in order to be able to schlep them out. There's a story of a girl from Israel. Her name was Ricky. Her father passed away. Her mother was a single parent, wasn't able to give her the attention. She used to play up in school. She really was doing terribly. One day she just was totally disturbing in class, and the teacher says you're going to have to stay till after class and then clean up the class afterwards. And that's what she did after the class. She's there and she has to clean up. She'd give her a broom and she's cleaning. And while she's doing that, someone comes in. A fellow comes in who actually adopted her. And was worried at the fact that she didn't come home yet. So he came in and he says, wow, it's such a difficult situation for you, you know, but you're overcoming it. I know you're going to be so successful. He writes hero on the board. He takes another broom and helps her. He carries her bag with her. And these adopted parents, made such an impact on this young girl that she was able to turn her life around from all the difficulties that she had to become a successful young lady. And this is our message and our lesson. If you want to reach people who are suffering, people who are hurting, people who are in difficult positions, sometimes you have to be willing to get a little down and dirty. You have to be willing to become purified yourself in order to be able to take them out. Good Shabbos.